Everybody good with getting started? So we get out of here on time, get out of here at lunchtime. Alright, I'm going to be your first instructor. I'm H1 Johnson. I don't think I ever officially introduced myself. I work over at NCIDC as the ESO for MEP. So if you have any questions pertaining to your exam, I'm your guy. Make sure it gets taken care of. Additionally, if you have any questions pertaining to anything, I'm always available. You guys have my cell phone number. Please reach out to me and I'll be happy to answer anything you need. Alright, so the first lesson we're going to teach today is SecNav 5210.1, Records Management, Part 2 and 3. Alright, records management is important, especially for your exam. Why so? Say again? Well, it's one of the bigs, yes, but they like to ask a lot of questions about how long you hold on to this, how long you hold on to that. This is where that's all derived from, okay? I'm going to move about the class. I'm going to give you a little forewarning. I was not scheduled to teach this class, so if I read from the PowerPoint, bear with me. I know some of this, but I'm going to give you the wave top so you guys have it. If you have any question anytime, just raise your hand, and I'll do the best I can to answer it. If I can't answer it right now, I'll get back to you, find an answer. Good to go? All right, let's rock. Okay, just a clicker. Work there for 1 second. All right, appraisal of records. Liaison for appraisal of records to determine retention standards is the CNO for Navy records and Commandant of the Marine Corps for Marine Corps records. Pretty basic, right? All right. Permanent records, they're going to have research, legal, historical, or scientific values that are worthy of preservation. So it has to be of some importance in order for us to want to keep it. Okay? Most permanent records are at the departmental or fleet command level. And then this one's interesting here because it talks about permanent records right here, but records designated for permanent retention are primary program files of unique type activities that may be valuable for historical or research purposes. So, anything that's going to have historical, research, or legal purposes is going to be permanent. Got that? Alright. Local historical records are designated as permanent in parts 3, 4, and 5. On your bib, you're only worried about parts 2 and 3, okay? So, of this instruction, and are 30 years and are over 30 years old, they must be transferred to the National Archives and Records Administration. So anything over 30 years old goes over to the National Archives and Records Administration. The CNO submits proposed retention standards to the Archivist of the United States for final approval. After that, the SecNav then issues approved retention standards. Okay? So CNO sends his stuff over to the Archivist for final approval, and then the SecNav issues how we're going to retain that information. Any questions? Alright, records retention standards are numbered according to the 13 different SSIC codes. SSIC codes are important for you guys to remember. Later on in this presentation, we'll cover a little ditty on how to remember those. I'm not going to lie, I never really learned the ditty. I just kind of committed these to memory. Alright, I recommend you do the same. SecNav Manual M5214.1 is the directive that requires activities to establish reports management program, and then reports are prepared on OpNav 5214/10. Okay? All SSIC codes are in this in Appendix I. And then records don't always have to be identical to those described in general retention standards, but the records must be similar in nature, document the same or essentially the same information, perform the same or similar purpose. So everything that kind of looks the same stays the same. It's stored the same, right? Like material with like material. Supporting documents and other closely related papers may be disposed of on basis of disposal authority selected when other disposition authorities aren't approved. Okay? So, if you have to keep something longer than you had originally intended to, let's say maybe, I don't know what the length is on a sexual assault case. I think it's like 60 years or something, or whatever. But let's say we had to retain it. The case got drug out for a long time. I have to keep it longer. You have to go and get approved authority from the CNO or CMC. All right? And you do that via your admin chain of command. Have to give specific reasons. And then, of course, it's unlawful to dispose of any records before the actual expiration or retention date. Okay? So, exception to standards when litigation, investigation, and exceptions are pending. Unsettled claims for against the government, current or pending litigation, an incomplete investigation, exceptions taken by General Accounting Office. Those records will be retained and not destroyed until litigation or investigation or whatever they're trying to get taken care of is complete. All right, so they'll hold on to it until that's complete. If it's past their required retention period, then they'll destroy it. Any record not covered under retention standards cannot be destroyed and is treated as an unscheduled record. The new retention recommendation should be made to the CNO or the Commandant of the Marine Corps. Retention periods and recommendations for revised standards. Non-record material will be disposed of at the discretion of the commanding officer after non-record status has been verified. So, if you have a non-record material, you can't do anything with it, and then you get the deciding factors that be, the CO then makes his discretion on if he actually wants to get rid of it or if he wants to keep it. Alright? And then retention periods of less than 1 year should be recommended only for bulky, rapidly accumulating files. So anything that just we keep making over and over, usually we're going to recommend only to keep it for a year. Recommendations for new advised standards should be submitted on a standard form 115 and contain this information right here. So standard form 115 if you want to make any revised standards to the record retention. Alright? Has anyone ever seen any questions on the exam pertaining to this, really? Outside of what instruction we'll talk about. So what instruction are we talking about here? Yep, the 5210. Alright? Standard transfer period. When proposed retention is more than a year, include FRC transfer date after records have been served, their reference value. When proposed retention period is permanent, include transfer date to an FRC and offer date when records can be transferred to the National Archivist's legal custody. And then when proposed retention is a year or less, transfer to the FRC as necessary. And then justification for proposed retention period. Any questions in regards to this? Alright, so we're still talking about recommendations for revisal. Annual cubic foot accumulation and accumulation to date for records recommended for permanent retention. So it's important for you to put in there, hey, I don't want to keep this for more than 2 years because this is how much space it's taking up. It's causing an issue with manning and whatnot, or space, especially if you're on a ship, space is limited, so why would you want to hold on to something that's rapidly accumulating, right? Alright, so effective programming, right? The big thing here is you do an annual inspection and review of your local procedures when it comes to records management. Alright, so when do you do your inspection? Annually. Steps for initial establishment of a disposal program. Inventory all your records, find out what's needed, what's not. And then establish specific cutoff and retirement periods for each record series. Offers of permanent records to the archivist will be made on SF 528. So if you want something to be put in a permanent record, you do that on an SF 528. Okay? Read over the rest of that. Doesn't seem really pertinent to me, but you never know. Alright, take action immediately to apply disposal instructions to eligible records, and then destroy them, retire them, or transfer them. Appraise records that are not covered by authorized disposal instructions, and then schedule disposal actions. So fiscal files may be held for an additional 3 months and disposed of with other eligible records at end of the calendar year. So fiscal files, we're probably talking about money there, okay? You can hold on to them for an additional 3 months and then dispose of them at the end of the year if required. Keep your local guidance current, and then make annual review of disposal procedures. So when it comes to records management, you're going to annually review your procedures on records management and also review your disposal procedures when it comes to records management. Here's your SSIC codes. So 1,000 personnel, 2,000 telecommunications, 3,000 operations and readiness, 4,000 logistics, 5,000 general admin, 6,000 deals with us, we know that, right? That's beating our heads. 7,000 financial, 8,000 ordnance, 9,000 ships design material, 1,000 general materials, 11,000 facilities, 12,000 civilian personnel, and 13,000 aeronautical and astronautical materials. This is probably the only thing I've ever really seen on an exam. You know, asking, hey, what does the 7,000 series deal with? All right, so it's important to know those. Here's your ditty. Okay, this is old school. You've probably heard this before. Military tests require luck and Master Chief Fraker's outstanding study material for foreman advancement. You print that out. Lines up with this right here, right? Any questions pertaining to this records management? So how often do you review your program? Yearly. How often do you review your disposal? Yearly. And what instruction are we talking about? All right, good to go. Go ahead and knock out your daily tests and whatnot before H1 House will teach us the next lesson. So it looks like it's kind of short. That what is it, the rodeo? I don't know if you guys are doing that rodeo, but I've done that shit like 100 times. Seriously, that helps. I think the biggest thing for me was learning the instructions on the bib. If I knew that, I guaranteed myself, you know, a few questions. And then also, I know you guys probably been told this before, but I like to take the scratch paper. I don't like, you know, I hear a lot of people take their scratch paper once they sit down, they just like diarrhea all this stuff onto it. I don't do that. That's too much. And it gets me all nervous and whatnot. I used to do that as a third class, but it's not worth it to me. So what I do is I take my scratch paper as I go through and I'm taking my exam. I like to, like if I have to skip a question, I write it on my scratch paper, right? I also make sure that I line my bubbles up. Because I know somebody that messed up their bubble sheet before, and then they were SOL. There ain't no coming back from that. So make sure you check that. So I write it on there. Because more than likely, I think Chief or someone talked about it yesterday, question 45 that you skipped might be answered by question 72. You know what I mean? And then you can go back and make at least a good determination or guess. The Navy used to be able to have two like definite wrong answers for sure, but I noticed lately they've gone where they're really you got to know your stuff. Because it used to be like, hey, what instruction governs this, and as long as you knew it was op-nav instruction, you were good. But now they're doing op-nav for all of them, and then you need to know what the current, you know, is it alpha, bravo, whatever. So do that rodeo, that'll help you out. And then at the end, I go back and I count up all my bubbles to make sure I didn't miss anything, literally before I turn it in. I usually do it twice just to be sure, make sure I didn't, you know, if I had areas where I erased, I usually go back and double check to make sure I selected the right one. I usually pick like a selection of 10 just to go back and read those 10 questions, make sure the bubbles are lining up if I skip something either before or after that. Alright, so take your time because you know you don't want to mess up that answer sheet. That rodeo will pay dividends.
6 lane. Not great. Yeah. It's gotten better since first day. No, it's better now. It's more like those specific ones, like, it's kind of, you got some that are common sense, like cornmeal. I mean, fucking know that since like core school.
Yeah, that's second half. What's cool?
14,295 Bravo. Huh?
Said party.
14,295 Bravo.
Used to be out.
Used to be, but now it's Bravo. It's been Bravo since I've been in. Doesn't it?
Have you actually?
Pretty sure. Huh?
Have you actually completed it?
Yeah.
In the system?
Yeah.
Well, you know the other reason I did? Fucking freedom. When you left in the middle of the ocean.
I don't think I did it until my second duty station.
Honestly, this is the most I've ever seen.
We get the same.
Lamb chapters.
Some of mine were so who's CNO? CNO? CNO again? Yeah. See, I don't like that question because CNC's in there too, so that should be, that hit second now. Because it doesn't say need, so technically CNC will be right too.